Hi everyone, welcome back to the Logic Lab. In today's video, we'll discuss something about ALU, which stands for Arithmetic and Logical Unit. Now, before discussing about this ALU, let's just rewind the very basic definition of a computer which you must have learned in your earlier classes. What is the basic definition of a computer? A computer is an electronic device which takes input from the user, processes the input, and then produces the output, right? Now, how does it take input? To take the input, it should have some media, right? The basic media for taking this input is the keyboard. We always type the input, right? Now, after processing the input, it produces the output. How do you get this output? It always displays the output on the monitor. Mostly it displays on the monitor. We do have another types of output devices like a printer. Okay. Now, where does this processing being done? This processing is always being done in another unit of computer which is called CPU. Okay, Central Processing Unit, where this actual processing is being done, and ALU is a part of this CPU. Now we'll discuss more about CPU. The CPU has got different units in which we will discuss about first registers and then RAM and then ALU, which is our topic today, and then CU stands for control unit. First, we'll see what are these registers. These registers are small portions of CPU which are used to store the data. What about RAM then? RAM is also it's memory, random access memory, which is used to store the data. Then what is the difference between registers and RAM? In RAM, multiple values will be stored. Now, each value will have its own address. To fetch a particular address, it takes some time. It takes some time to fetch the value. And second reason is processor speed is very higher than RAM speed. So there is a speed mismatch. When the processor uses RAM to store or fetch the values, your transaction will become a bit slow. Whereas if you have less number of values and if it stores the values in the registers, as it is just a small portion, your transaction will be a bit fast. That is the difference between registers and RAM. We'll discuss more about RAM in upcoming videos. Okay. And then what is this ALU? ALU is nothing but arithmetic and logical unit, in which all arithmetic and logical operations will be performed. First, let's discuss what are these arithmetic operations. Arithmetic operations are the basic operations like addition, subtraction, multiplication, and then division. Then, what are the logical operations? Logical operations are used to connect these arithmetic operations. Let's see a simple example. For example, I have three values A, B, and C. I just want to find whether this A is bigger than B and C. How do you evaluate it? First, I will check whether A is greater than C. And then I will also check whether A is greater than B. Now, I can say that A is greater than B and C only if A is greater than C and A is greater than B. So this is called logical operation. Okay, we are connecting these two conditions by using a logical operator called AND. Okay, we represent this AND with ampersand symbol like this. Now, this comparison is also part of logical operations. Now, all these operations will be performed in ALU, arithmetic and logical unit. But this ALU cannot perform all these executions on its own. But who will make this ALU to perform all these operations? Control unit. Control unit will control and coordinate all the operations. It is like the brain of CPU. Suppose here you have got two registers. I told you registers are the smaller portions of a processor. Okay, CPU which will store the value. Now, suppose I do have two registers R1 and then R2. Okay, in which I have some values, say 10 and 20. Now, ALU has to add these values. First, control unit will instruct ALU, hey, you go and fetch the values from both the registers R1 and R2. That is instruction number 1. Then, control unit will instruct the computer, now please add the values 10 and 20. That is instruction number 2. Now, control unit will also instruct the computer or instruct ALU to store the value in register 3. Okay, this is how control unit will control ALU and ALU will perform all arithmetic or logical operations. Hope you understood this concept. Thank you. Thank you so much for